Hello, my name is Faina, and I have dedicated the last 7 years to honing my craft and fine-tuning my strategy.
Hi, I'm Louise Donwheeler and I'm a trading psychology expert. I've worked with traders for almost a decade across the globe. I am a multi-award-winning clinical hypnotherapist and life coach. I am also the founder and creator of a proven online psychology program.
At Trading in the Zen, we believe that there is much more to trading than numbers and probabilities. Like an athlete, a trader should operate in their peak state. Each week, you will have mind-blowing interviews as well as actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to become a better trader. Thanks for spending time with us today. Now, let's dive right in.
So, welcome to another episode of Trading in the Zen. Today, we have another special guest. His name is Mark Holstead, and Mark runs a successful company called Traders Mastermind. He also has a successful YouTube channel called UK Spread Betting. So, Mark, it's a real pleasure having you today. Welcome on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
So, Mark, let's talk, first of all, trading. You've been a trader for quite some years now. A question, handling losing streaks. This is probably something that most traders struggle with at some point in their career or their journey. I mean, how do you handle those run of losses?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, listen, when I started out in 2001, I don't even think I had a winning streak. So it was kind of permanent losers. But from a perspective of once you start to gain some traction and you start to see some performance, you initially think, hey, do you know what? I've cracked this. I'm never going to lose again. It's like, oh yeah, great. Everything's great. And you start extrapolating your performance out over the months, over the years. But obviously that's not the case, right? Even the very, very best in the world have losing streaks. I know that Paul Tudor Jones, famous hedge fund manager, even went to Tony Robbins at one time and said, hey, I'm losing. I need to kind of reset my mind and get myself back into focus. So losing streaks. I think it's a case of building on the confidence that you've earned over your career and saying, hey, listen, I've recovered every single losing streak so far to be where I am now. And I'm confident in my ability. Yes, maybe the market regime has changed. Maybe something's not quite right. What do I need to look at? And I generally have a process for dealing with losing streaks. And I know we're kind of talking about mindset mostly here, but very briefly, part of that is operational, going back and seeing if there's something I'm doing wrong. Am I out of tune with the market? Am I trying to force momentum trades when we're in a mean reversion environment? Is it something as simple as that? If it is, that's an easy fix. If it's something to do with my mindset, maybe I'm operating a bit more from fear. Perhaps I am thinking my ego's getting in the way. I think I'm just too good, which is true. Then I'll kind of have a process and go, listen, dial things back, take the burden of size away from me and reduce the position size, fewer trades, grade A clean setups only, and just try to, I think the name of the game for me personally is just to try to build confidence back up again, because you can get into a negative spiral if you're not careful where the confidence falls, your performance falls, and that fuels the confidence fall, and you cascade lower. So for me, it's just starting again almost. Okay, what are my best plays? Let's reduce the size, get the confidence back up, put some numbers on the board, and then try and build from there.
Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, as a trader, we sometimes get into this mindset of like recovering losses. And I think this is a really dangerous zone. When you go to your computer and you sit down to recover losses, usually that ends up in a much bigger tragedy. How do you tackle, let's say if you had a really bad day or a string of bad days, how do you return the next day and leave the previous day or a string of losses behind and treat every day as a new opportunity?
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think, I mean, I like to say I'm perfect. I'm not, obviously.
You're not? Weird.
Yeah. Often often I'll have to take a day off or a couple of days off and just kind of let the emotion dissipate a bit, because it's great to say, hey, I don't feel concerned about losers. And to a certain extent, I don't, right? I don't. But if they're persistent, at some point I'll go, oh, hang on a second, this is a little bit unpleasant. So a day or two doesn't bother me. I'll carry on with my stride. If it comes on a little bit longer, or maybe I've missed a few trades or something, my execution's just been poor. I will default to the process. So I will, say, hey, listen, the process is solid. Just do your routines, do your checks, make sure your mind's set in the right place, look for your plays. And just be a little bit cautious. Now, maybe this is a fault of mine, to be fair. And some people would say, listen, just carry on with the foot on the throttle. But for me, if I get a whiff of the performance dropping, I want to just limit that damage. So I might then restrict myself and say, hey, I'm going to just take a couple of trades today. Just get a couple of trades, just get some confidence back in the bank. And then the next day I can be back on it.
Yeah.
You brought up an interesting point that, taking a day or two off. For us traders, we're so afraid of not trading because we feel like if you don't trade every day, are you really a trader? And frequently, I think to myself that not trading is also trading. Staying out is also a form of trading. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree 100%. No position is a position. You're making an active decision there to not allocate risk capital to an idea. So I couldn't agree more. And I think that, to your initial point, many traders, and we've all fallen into this trap no matter how experienced we are, at some point where we've gone, oh, if I'm not in front of the screen, then I'm missing all the opportunities. And there's a little voice inside you that kind of goes, yeah, Mark, if you're not in front of the screen, that's going to be the opportunity of the quarter and you're going to miss it. Great. Yeah, you've got this little voice, haven't you?
Sometimes it is.
And in reality, it's so good for you. No trader has taken a break, whether it's, a day, a couple of days, a week, forced break and come back and gone, I wish I'd not taken that break.
Yeah.
Most traders go, hey, I feel refreshed, I feel relaxed, I've got new ideas, I've got new perspective on things, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's really beneficial. So, Mark, we're emotional beings, aren't we? And a vast amount of traders find that at some point in their journey or their career, emotions get in the way or take over. But do you feel there is a way that traders can use their emotions to their advantage when trading?
Yeah, I do think there is. I think this is something that is potentially to be explored a little bit further on in your journey. So if you're kind of new into trading, then your job is really just to learn to listen to your emotions and understand when they are serving you and when they are not. So I think the biggest one is when they are not, when you're a developing trader. So if we start on that for the moment, if you're feeling scared, if you're feeling nervous about a position, if you're nervous about going into the trading day, it's like, well, why are you nervous? What's making you nervous? Are you worried that you're going to trade on tilt and you're going to kind of do some damage that you shouldn't have done? Are you nervous in a position? Why are you concerned about losing the unrealized P&L that you might have? What does that come from? And then, so from that perspective, it's just making sure that you manage those, or not manage them. It's making sure you listen to them and just your response to the emotion, I think, is key.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have, like you say, Louise, we're going to have emotions, right? It's all very well. Everyone's saying, oh, you should trade like a robot. And it should be, no, that's nonsense.
No, absolutely agree.
Just build an algo if you want to trade like a robot. It's easy. We're just the worst algorithms ever, right? We get tired, we get hungry, we need the toilet. Worst algo. So I think that, you just listen to the emotions and just learn to interpret what they're saying. So if you are feeling stressed and something about it, just it's worth just pressing pause on everything, going, right, why do I feel like this? And just grabbing that emotion from your mind, bring it in Seneca. I feel anxious about this. And then asking yourself direct questions, say, right, forget about the trade for now. Why do I feel anxious about placing this trade? What is it? Yeah. And just dig and dig and dig. And you find that it's probably nothing crazy. It's like, oh, I'm worried about losing. Why are you worried about losing? Because the risk isn't massive. Oh, but right. I don't want to have another losing trade. Well, why don't you want to have another losing trade? Well, I want to be a winning trader. Yeah, but why one losing trade? And then you find out that maybe your identity is staked on the outcome of an individual trade, which is just such a bad place to be, because you're never going to win that battle, because you're going to have plenty of losers. But going on to your question, I think that's slightly I didn't answer what you asked me. I think using them to your advantage is, I think, recognizing when the market is in a state. We're not always in this case. Most of the time, the market's in an equilibrium, supply and demand just ticking up and down. But occasionally, we're in a situation where the market might be an extreme. It might be kind of running strong, might be flushing through lows, and you might feel nervous about going long. And I'm not saying catch a falling knife by any stretch of the imagination, but if you can recognize that that's your emotion, you can also recognize that that's double as someone who's caught long and it's flushing through lows. Now, is that you just dive in and go full net worth margin long at that point? Absolutely not. But use that to your advantage and say, hey, listen, I can feel the fear myself. Is this an opportunity where we might have, if I see a specific technical signal as well, that I might be able to use that and say, hey, let me do the opposite of what I feel in this moment in time.
Yeah, I find that when I start to get fearful, frequently my risk, my position size and my risk size are out of tune with my account, because you presume risk, and if I am taking more on than I should have, I start to get uncomfortable. So that's my first indication that perhaps I need to reduce my position size, because then I sort of assume the risk and I'm ready. But the flip side of it is taking profits early, and I think I struggle with that a lot. When you're in the money, and people for some reason like let their losers run and they cut their winners short, which is completely opposite of what we're supposed to be doing. But something about the psyche that says grab that money, and then it happened today, and then the oil kept dropping, and I sat there for another dollar watching this thing drop. And is that based on fear? Is it some rooted belief of not having enough money? Where does this come from? Because I struggle with that a lot.
Yeah, I don't think this is super common. I think this is one of the separators. I do believe this, and I think you have to examine why you take profits at that point in time. And it really only comes down to one thing, right? It's that you're worried, fearful, however you want to frame it, of losing that unrealized profit, isn't it? Because you kind of look at it and go, "Oh, I'm up." Or, whatever you're up, a couple of bucks on crude, a couple 100 points on the Dow, whatever it may be. And the only reason for you closing it, well, two reasons, right? One is, okay, there's a technical signal, there's an exit signal. Fine, you're operating from your plan. That's good. But if you're taking it because you're looking at the P&L and saying, oh, I'm up this money, I'd like to feel good about grabbing this money, the trade still looks valid. It comes from that place of worried about losing what you've got. And you made a really great point. Is that deep rooted, and is that something, our beliefs about money? I mean, possibly, we don't like losing what we've already got, right? It's why many people stay where they are, in life, they stagnate because they don't want to lose what they've got. It's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. So I wonder whether, that kind of thing comes through our mind. Tom Hugard said a great thing. I interviewed him on my podcast actually a while ago, and he is a great advocate of adding to trades. So when he feels fearful and says, I could do with taking profits here, if it's not a technical reason, he will face that fear and add another clip. So, that's really like doing the opposite of the majority do. And it's something that I do as well, is, okay, just if the trader's not got a valid exit signal yet, just be very, very strict with myself and saying, hey, listen, I am shortchanging myself by snatching at profits. And a way I framed it a while ago, and I mentioned this to some of my traders, and I said, hey, listen, what's happening is, and you guys, you may have heard about the chimp from the Chimp Paradox.
Oh,
so
yes.
That's what I mean when I talk about the chimp. So your chimp is basically saying, all right, I got a deal for you. I know you want to hold trades. I know you want to make this, you want to make it in trade. And I know you want to expand your equity curve. I know you want to do all these things. But I tell you what, I'll buy that dream off you right this moment for a couple of $1,000 or whatever your unrealized P&L is. And this sounds crazy, right? But it's almost that. It's almost saying, oh, I'll take the short-term gain and feel good, and I'll give up on the fact that I'm trying to grow I'm trying to stretch myself as a trader. Okay, my dream's for sale. There you go. You've been bought. You've been bought. There you go. And it happens again and again, and you just feel regret, right? Money, but you feel, it doesn't matter how much it is, you feel regret from like, hey, I wasted. That was really a great trade. I put myself in a position to capitalize on this opportunity, and at the first sign, a bit of cash dangled in front of me, I was sold, done, I was gone. And that sounds, I mean, I know that sounds absolutely brutal to say it like that.
Yeah.
But I think when I was just thinking through that in my mind all the time, it's like, no, I'm not looking for short-term gains here. I'm looking to grow and expand as a trader. And this trade is still valid. It should be held. This should be traded more size, really, but let's deal with that next time. And just kind of accepting the fact that that money could go back, the acceptance of, okay, the unrealized P&L could disappear. Am I comfortable with that? Yes or no? You know, and then you just have to say, yeah, okay, fair enough. Or you say, okay, no, I'm not. Okay, well, let's stretch it a bit at a time then. Let's not try and go from A to B in one big leap. Just trim half. Say, okay, I don't want to give it all back because it's quite a lot and I quite like that, but not quite a big boost to the account for the week. Let me just take off half the clip, leave half to run. Am I happy with losing that half, putting the stop at break even, for example?
Yeah.
Yes, I am. Right, fine. Then you just get yourself to a place of a little bit discomfort, but not where you're constantly like, looking at the tick.
When you take profits early, you mess up your equation of wins to losses. And if you don't let your winners run, then mathematically you're upsetting the whole equation of then a string of losses will take you out way quicker because you're not offsetting with bigger gains. So I keep reminding myself that I'm not building a cushion. I'm not saying that it's effective. I'm just saying I keep trying.
Yeah, that's and you're exactly spot on with that because it's interesting why you say the word maths because very often I use the same thing. I'm like, listen, the maths don't work if you trade like this. They just do not work because you're going to have losers, you're going to have winners. If you have small losers, small winners, then you're going to get nowhere. And occasionally you're going to make a mistake. So occasionally you might have a loser that's a little bit more than you want. So if you just look at that equation, that is a negative expectancy if you cap off every single winner, unless you've got a really high win rate, which, we generally don't have as retail traders. We don't have that edge.
Correct.
So you absolutely must have opportunity to extract large wins from the market. When they come, not every trade, of course, when they come, the opportunity is there. You must be able to make an outlier boost to your P&L when the opportunity is there. Otherwise, like you said, the maths just don't work. And so that outlier P&L can either come from trading bigger size on the better ideas, which is maybe operationally quite challenging for some people, or the first step, like you say, is just holding that trade to its fruition. You've already set the target. You've already done the hard work. You've decided the trade you want to take. You've taken the trade. You've got your stop. You've got your target. And then as soon as this trade starts going your way, you're cutting it and saying, well, I know better in the heat of the moment than me when I'm cool and calm and calculating and planning the trade, which is it's nonsense, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's when emotions hijack your reason. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Mark, going off track a little bit now, we've known each other for some time, and I know that you are a huge advocate of cold showers. And I like myself, and you've got some great techniques and a good routine that you do for yourself. Now, is this something that you feel can help trading and trading performance? Because I did listen to one of your podcasts and it was really interesting actually around building discipline through cold showers.
Absolutely. And there'll be people listening to this chuckling away because they'll be groaning going, oh my God, Mark's gone about cold showers and he's so boring. There will be. Like, listen, guys, you're going to keep going on about it until you do it. I think it's a big thing for me for discipline. And I mean, I could go on this for ages, but I won't. I'll rein myself in. I'll just give you the main reasons, I think. Obviously, there's loads of health benefits. I'm not an expert on that. There's some other guys who are experts on that. So that's a plus, right? It's not going to do you any harm. But it's just from a discipline perspective, it sets the day, right? You're in that shower and I'm all nice and warm and like, it's nice and cozy. And you feel when you've got a warm shower, there's a bit of steam around you and you just, this is nice. And then you say, right, I'm going to have a cold shower now. And it's like, don't be so crazy. I feel so comfortable, so warm. What are you doing? You're a madman. what this kind of does is it's you taking control of back to the chimp, right? You're saying, okay, listen, I'm doing this because I know you don't want me to do it. I know it's uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it. And you will have all this internal voice going on saying, honestly, he becomes the best barrister in the world at that moment in time. He's like, well, listen, let me just tell you the argument here why you should not have a cold shower. And he'll make up something like, oh, you twinged your back at the gym. That'll make it worse. Or this is not helping you. And why do you want to be uncomfortable? It's not going to make any difference. And it's really interesting to observe that internal dialogue at that moment in time, especially when you're first starting out.
Yeah.
Everything's stopping you. It's like, it's not going to hurt you. It's just discomfort for, you can start out by doing it for 30 seconds or a minute. But the point is, you just take control of that voice and you just say, absolutely not. I'm doing what I said I was going to do. And that's the key. Like I said, I was going to do this. I'm going to do it. Bang, that goes to full cold. And yet, it's unpleasant, especially when it gets winter and that water is coming through those underground pipes is probably below zero and it's not freezing just because it's moving. So it's like icy. But you feel good after it, number one. You feel revived, invigorated. But from a trading discipline perspective, for me, it just takes command of that inner voice right from the beginning of the early part of the day. You're saying, no, listen. And so when you have that during the trading day, the voice that says, oh, don't take the trade or take the profits, as we were just talking about, just take the profits. You won't feel bad. You're in command a bit more. You've dictated who's in charge. And you say, hey, listen, I've heard you. You had this same conversation. We had this same conversation this morning. Will you just be quiet? I've got this. Leave it with me.
Yeah.
What people don't know is that as traders, we spend equal amount of time trading and negotiating with ourselves. I start negotiating with myself from the time I open my eyes. And it starts with, you just negotiate with yourself for a number of hours a day. We're like masters at it at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And it's it's not, and it just gets so much easier. And I honestly, I know people are listening going, oh, but I really recommend them trying it because you don't want to do it. You just don't want to do it at the beginning. Like, why do I want to do it? But the point is you're doing something discomfort or uncomfortable, putting yourself in discomfort, should I say. The main thing here, guys, is that it's doing something you said you were going to do. And that's why people break their rules in trading. I'm not going to take more than 4 trades today. Yeah. I'm not going to lose more than X $1,000. I'm not going to trade extensions. I'm not, whatever it may be. And then they break the rule. So they're just not doing what they say they're going to do. So if you start by doing something you can control, like a little thing like a cold shower, so I'm going to do this for do 5 days, whatever it may be. You're just taking charge of that inner voice.
Yeah. It's interesting, Mark, because I do the cold showers, and I've been doing them for a very long time, even in the winter now. But when I first started, I literally had an argument with myself. Like there were two different, it was like Jekyll and Hyde in the shower, and I won't go into too much into detail, but it's true what you say. It's kind of overriding the chimp mind, isn't it? And saying, no, actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for me. And it's all about consistency and repetition, isn't it?
That's exactly it. And it comes up in some interesting things as well. One thing I found my chimp doing at some point in time last winter, I've done these for years, but last winter is I'd get out the shower and I'd be like, I hadn't turned it to cold. You sneaky little chimp. You got my mind thinking about something else, didn't you? And imagine this little internal dialogue, or probably talking out loud and everyone thinking you're crazy and who are you talking to on your own there in the shower? But it was this, and so I ended up getting back in. I was like, well, no, I'm not having that. I'm going to go back in, and that's even worse. So the point is, I think he does all these sneaky little things, he or she, depending on who it is, does these sneaky little things to stop you from doing what you say you're going to do.
Well, I spend most of my day arguing with the chimp, so that's okay. I sit in front of my computer. Why are you doing it? Stop it! No, stop! I have a full-on fights with the chimp, and sometimes I win, and sometimes the chimp wins. But my days are spent like in that negotiation, kind of that you're saying you said you were going to do that, right? And how can you show up for other people when you can't show up for yourself? And I remind myself, because I pride myself in being the person that shows up for others, and it starts with you. And that is where it gets really difficult, because who are you in terms of like integrity, right? Because integrity is doing the right thing when nobody's watching, right? And so this is the challenge. Like, how much integrity do I have as a human being? And then that translates into all other aspects of life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
On your point there, when you were arguing with the chimp and having this constant battles, something that I found that helped me make a lot more progress in that way was to listen to the voice and the inner conversation, the chimp, let's call it, given whatever reasoning he's got. And then rather than, no, I'm right, I'm going to do this. And sometimes that's effective. Sometimes you've got to do that. But sometimes otherwise you're saying, listen, I understand where you're coming from here. And this is crazy, right? Sitting in the trading day talking to yourself like this, but we're traders, we get it. Almost saying, hey, listen, I understand where you're coming from. I know that you're frightened about losing. I know that your identity is staked on the outcome of this week. And just listen, don't we feel better as a pair of us when we stick to the rules? Listen, it's going to take us some time to get to where we want to be. Trust me on this. I've got this. You're not going to get hurt, chimp. Your ego's not going to get bashed. You're not going to die. Nothing's bad's going to happen to you. Let's work together. You can keep me safe from some things, but I've got this. And almost having bringing him or her on side.
Like befriending him.
Yeah, in a certain way. And sometimes, when he's going crazy and he's raging, you're going to have to just go, listen, I'm not listening to you. I'm getting on with this. But sometimes, befriending him and saying, I know you've got my best interests at heart here, but in this situation, I've got this. I'm doing what I know is the best to do. It might not have the outcome you want immediately, which I know is what you like, Mr. Chimp, but I promise you, 1 week, 1 month, 90 days, whatever it may be, time, we'll be in a better position.
Mark, talking about the book, because this, I've heard about this book for so many years, and it's been one of those books I've kept saying to myself, right, it's on top of my list. I have to read it. And I'm actually through the process now, the Chimp Paradox.
Yeah. Chimp Paradox, mind management, something.
The Chimp Paradox, I mean, it's such a good book. It really helps put things in perspective about how the mind works and the kind of, what we do as humans and behaviors. Would you recommend this book for traders to read?
Yeah, absolutely, Louise. I think, and I know I talk about it a lot, this book, but really there's one concept that just made me go, I get it, was the concept of the chimp. There's loads of or more details in there. And to be honest, I can't remember the big parts of it. But the big thing made me go, right. There's the separation of the different aspects of your mind, and the big one being the chimp, and that his desire and from my perspective, what he wants out of things, and what I want out of things, and I think that you find and it all becomes clear, and also it helps you. I think just helps you understand why people react the way they do as well out and about in life. You say, hey, listen, that guy's being an idiot or he's being aggressive because he's he's in full chimp mode. He's not in control of it. In the cold light of day when he looks at his behavior, he's going to be really disappointed. Or just as an example, and like yourself, like if I'm out driving and someone does something and I'm just like, oh man, this guy, I'm going to chase him down. Listen, just what for? Just what for? You just and you realize it is you, but it's just a different part of you that, in that instance, my ego's been bruised because someone's cut me up and got in front of me. It's like, who cares? It's like, is that an issue? But to the chimp, he feels like he's just been, knocked out by somebody.
But it brings more self-awareness, I think, this book. It really helps, really help you to kind of almost look outside in as to how we work as humans, our mind and the chimp mind and so forth. And, I know so many people that have read this book and they found great value from it. So
I haven't, and it's going to be on my to read list. Because I really want to conquer this mind body separation, where you almost observe yourself from the third person, and then when your emotions subside, you see things clearly. It's like you're on a treadmill. You can't see anything around you, and then when you look at the same chart, let's say an hour from the moment, and you say, what the heck was I doing? You see it so clearly, and just being able to stop yourself in the moment, that is the challenge. So I try to walk away. I try to do push-ups. I try to do sit-ups just to get the anxiety out of the body. So, a worst case scenario, I'm going to have a six-pack. So I feel like it's going to work in some particular way.
Yeah. I'm just going back very briefly to the point you mentioned about, understanding the chimp. I think that it helps you become a little bit more calm, and not necessarily calm, but more forgiving is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You're more forgiving of how you react to stuff. So, whilst you're saying at the moment, I'm really, I'm a bit frustrated at my behavior, I'm trying to do this and do that. I think it allows you to really go, okay, listen, I'm doing this because of X, Y, Z reason. What's the trigger? And then going back and saying, okay, what makes me get so wrapped up in that 1 minute chart and not look at the bigger picture? What makes me want to revenge trade? And you kind of reverse engineer things and go, hey, actually, there's a trigger here that's causing the emotion, and that's causing the thing. And also, it's off topic here from trading, but understanding this kind of chimp concept is so powerful for your relationships as well. I know it's not a relationship podcast, but it's just be improving yourself generally as a person.
Yeah.
And you saying about you showing up for others. I think that understanding that people operate in this way, and there's a chimp and there's this, means you're more forgiving of others under certain conditions. Whereas you can get into an argument where you're like chimp versus chimp, and that's the worst case scenario, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
Like two triggered people, and their fears fighting, and it's not even people fighting anymore. It's just two sets of fears that are battling. That is because there's no reason there, because everyone's so triggered. I totally understand your point.
Yeah, exactly. And then your point about showing up for people, and sometimes this is a very specific example perhaps, but you're there to support somebody and they are in full chimp mode, and you can't talk to a chimp. It's impossible to talk to a chimp.
Yeah.
So you almost have to kind of adjust your language and adjust your posture and adjust how you deal with this person in a way that kind of unhooks them from chimp being in control. Just like we are as traders, right? In the middle of a trading day, when we're kind of so focused on something that we know we shouldn't be, it's saying, hey, just step back from the chimp, and you almost see it, right? If you're having a conversation with someone who's in chimp mode and you don't let your chimp, because that's tough for you, right? Getting in that situation where your chimp wants to go, well, I'm going to say this. But if you can stay calm, and then you can say to that person and bring them back down from the chimp being in control, you almost see it, the change on their face. And so let's parallel this with trading. If you get into a position where you have control over, you recognize quickly when your chimp is in command, and have tools and tactics, like you say, push-ups, like breathing or whatever it is, to stand him down and say, listen, it's okay. It's under control. Don't worry. Hand over his shoulder. I know why you're doing this, but let's reset things and let's move forward.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting, Mark, because you've mentioned this a few times actually, and I think number one, the most important thing is self-awareness. And how are we feeling? How are we reacting? What are we doing? But secondly, on from that is effective questioning. So that's where we really start to learn and grow of, who we are and how we can sort of evolve and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You're right. And that ability to be able to do that without judgment, and because you're trying to get to a goal. And so, sometimes it's tough to look yourself in the mirror and go, I didn't run that trade for, like we were talking about earlier, because I'm worried about losing the unrealized P&L. Sometimes it's tough to kind of to be honest about the answers as to why you're reacting the way you are. But I think that one of the biggest skills that a trader develops over the years is being in tune with their emotional thermometer.
Yeah.
And kind of recognizing, hey, listen, I'm operating from a place of danger. I'm in the danger zone. And sure, it's not going to be perfectly centered and in the Zen all the time, right? Sometimes you're going to be just out of it or just under it, and it's okay, but it's the danger zones either side when you're just trading from a carefree perspective, deadly, or trading from a perspective of gripping things too hard and trying to push too hard and too focused on the lower time frames and all the other stuff. That's dangerous and out of fear or out of revenge. And I think the more experienced trader does not experience these. Maybe they're dampened and they're not so extreme after you've been trading for a while because you've been there, done that, but you still experience them. But it's recognizing when they kick in, and then, as you say, Louise, asking yourself the question, saying, "Hey, why am I doing this? Why am I feeling like this? Why do I suddenly have this like a surge of adrenaline? I'm moving forward on my chair, and I'm feeling a bit anxious about this trade. There's something that is the catalyst for that. And if you can reverse engineer and find out what that is, it means that in future you can then write down and say, hey, watch out for this. One thing for me is if I have a series of losers intraday, like 3 losers intraday, that upsets me, and it shouldn't do because it's nothing. It means nothing. But I just go, why have I had 3 losers? And I know that I've got to really back off then, because
Right.
I'm probably operationally I'm out of tune with the market, number one. But number two, I've probably tried to push something that isn't there to be pushed. Like you know, if you're pushing trying to force a break to the downside and it's just stagnating, and you're it's just not working. You're just not in tune, and then you can sense the frustration building. And so, you know, that's just emotional awareness of going, hey, that's a potential weakness there. I know that after that, I trade with a negative expectancy. So why the hell would I even trade?
Yeah.
But it's our desire to be right. Sometimes I hammer in the same kind of idea over and over, and it's clearly not working. But I just have this desire to be right. As humans, you just want to be right and validated. So you continue to hammer it in instead of taking a pause and taking a walk, coming back and looking at it, because the market is not going anywhere. I think as traders, we act like it's going to close in the next 30 minutes, but it's not going to. It's going to be there. And another point you were making about, you know, seasoned traders and trading in general, I think there's such a gross disrespect at this time for what we do. And, you know, everyone is a trader now. And people, you know, put one trade in and now they're day traders. And I feel like there's very little respect for the craft that we spend years honing. And in general, how long does it take for a trader to be successful? I get this question all the time. So people say, so like what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month? And you know, because they had one good trade. Now they're like on Instagram, they're giving advice. They have a page, they have a course out because, you know, they went on Robinhood and placed the trade and it happened to hit, and they haven't been like chewed up and spat out yet. And then, you know, had the fortitude to come back and try it again over and over and over. So what are your thoughts on this?
I think if you look at a 4-year journey, but be prepared for longer. And I know that sounds like, whoa, that's ridiculous. And some people it's different, right? Some people it's different. Some people get it in 2 and they find some traction and things work and the conditions, you know, a lot of it does. I know this is a bit of perhaps it's a cop out, but it's true. A lot of the time, if the conditions align and the conditions are easier and you're 2 years in, then you kind of, you get a grip quicker. But if the conditions are changing in those 4 years, like you've gone from bull market to stagnation to bear market to this, and you're trying to adjust and adapt your strategy, then it's going to take you 4 years to find a variety of strategies and tools that you can use under different conditions. I mean, you know, running the Traders Mastermind community, I've got guys in there who are 10 years plus. I've got guys in there who are, it's really designed for 2 to 3 year plus traders, if I'm honest. That's the majority in there. But you know, I think if I look at those and I think about those, it's 4 years, and I think you've got to prepare for that. And if you don't go into it thinking, okay, it's going to be 4 years, then and you think, oh, I could do it in 1 year, or I could do it in 2. When you don't get to where you want to be after 18 months, you start to feel frustrated. You start to feel disappointed, and then you end up kind of, you know, throwing the risk rules away and saying, well, if I can just get my equity curve up and all this stuff. Whereas if you say, listen, this is a 4-year plan, how does that fit in with my current lifestyle? How does that fit in with my income requirements? All that stuff. Imagine you're going off to train and do a degree or something. It's 4 years.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The doctors train and any other craft, people train and they presume that it's going to take time. But I think all of this false information and false and kind of predatory tactics that people put out of easy money, and it costing people their 401ks, their life savings, because in any trading, but specifically in futures, you can lose quickly and you can lose everything because it moves so fast when it does, especially like I trade crude oil. You know how that moves. When she moves, she moves. And people not understanding margins, not understanding that a string of losses can put you out of margin. So you're not able to put any more trades. You just don't have enough money to recover. And I think a lot of time is spent on sort of the big dream and the glitz and glamour, and not enough time spent on psychology, on reasonable expectations, on lifestyle changes that it would require. Because to put everything you have into it, you're going to trade fearfully because you've just put your life savings into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people, not as much of that is being mentioned because it's not glamorous, right? People won't be able to push their courses if they honestly say, look, it's going to take 4 years and you're going to be more wrong than you're right. And there's going to be days when you're going to be holding yourself and crying in a corner and you're going to have to come back from it. I think not enough of that is being told. And so people go in without even basic computer knowledge. And how are you going to be a trader without basic understanding of how computers work?
So that goes on to my next question, actually, Mark. You mentioned Traders Mastermind. Now, obviously, I know quite a lot about Traders Mastermind, and what you offer traders is so valuable. The support, the network, the group. Can you tell the listeners exactly what Traders Mastermind is before we wrap up the show?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I set this up in lockdown of COVID. I've been trading away, and I used to meet with a group of traders out and about in the real world, as it was, and that got shut down in COVID. And I thought, you know what, there's something here for more serious traders to get together and kind of have Zoom calls and learn and improve and talk about challenges and really just kind of build a community of people who are ambitious, regardless of whether they've got a 7-figure account or they've got, modest account. And so, it's a community. We do 2 Zoom calls a week. Sometimes they're around a specific theme or topic. Other times we are kind of tearing down a trade, or we're looking at how to extract more from specific ideas, set up stuff. So it's really designed for people 2 years plus experience, intermediate to advanced traders. And not to say you're very welcome to come in if you're a beginner, but we don't talk about beginner stuff. And I think a lot of that's available, free of charge on YouTube and books and stuff. You can get
what markets do you analyze and trade? What is the focus of your group? Do you trade futures? Do you trade stocks? Do you trade?
We trade everything. We don't actually specifically make trade calls or trade recommendations or anything like that. I very much believe that we're a lone wolf when we're trading, but the support of, hey, listen, how do we hold trades longer? How do we get over this kind of challenge of adding to trades? And some guys are in there trading Forex, some guys are in there trading, they're crazy like you, trading intraday, trading crude. Some other instruments. There's a variety of instruments. Majority of people are day traders. But it's less ideas as in trade ideas and that type of thing, because I'm very much a believer that you've got to generate your own ideas to have belief in them and confidence in them and longevity in the markets. But it's more support around the mindset, the mental aspect of trading, how to recover from drawdown, and just general stuff that applies to across all markets.
And having a support group, because trading is a very lonely sport. So having like-minded people to kind of even talk you down, and say, hey, I'm having a horrible day, and a group of people that understand what that is. Because most people are like, oh, it's okay, just walk it off. You're like, oh, well, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. If I could just walk this off, I would be like, what was it, Forrest Gump? He kept running and running and running. If that would have worked. But just having a support group of people who understand everyday struggles and victories.
Yeah.
So true. And you know what it's like, right? If you speak to your friend who's a non-trader and you go, I had a great day. Oh, yeah, I lost money, but I stuck to my plan. And they just look at you like you're an absolute fool. And, but in reality, you say it to a group of traders, like, oh, yeah, well done, pat on the back.
Yeah.
Good, discipline's on point.
Yeah, so, and don't forget to journal it as well.
yeah, exactly. It's that type of thing where you can just talk the things that only traders understand and get solutions, ideas for solutions. Everyone's different. And sometimes you have to go, oh, this person did it that way and that person did it that way and that person overcame it that way. Let me try this first. Let me then try that. And then you go, that worked for me. Great. Next. And then the idea is as well, we've got some great guys in there who've been in there since the beginning. They'll help others. So when you're struggling, we'll reach down and pull you up. And when someone else is struggling, you can reach down and pull someone up. So that helps your trading. Yeah. So we all rise together. And we're all different levels and trading different instruments, but it's that commitment just to be better. That is the common theme.
It's so valuable for traders, isn't it? Just to know that there's somebody there, like if it's on the end of a screen, or they know that they're having the weekly call with you, or it's so important, isn't it? So
I'm about to join you, Mark, as soon as we're done with this.
Do it. Yeah. Well,
so you can help me talk to my chimp, please.
Yeah.
we can talk to her together because she's tough.
She sounds it. Well, she's trading crude oil. She's got to be.
Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure. We've run out of time, but could you share for our listeners, the best point of contact for you?
Yes. I mean, if you go to tradersmastermind.com, all the stuff's there. I don't use social media. I've got that YouTube channel, which we've got a fair few subscribers on there, so you can see some of the stuff there. Mm-hmm. I don't really have. I'll tell you what, I do have Twitter actually at Tape Read Trade. I don't use it that much.
Okay.
But you can. I think my DMs are open. If you'd like to go on there and ask me something or clarify something mentioned today, I'm more than happy to answer that one. So yeah, Tape Read Trade at Twitter.
Perfect.
Yeah, Mark, you don't pose next to someone else's Ferrari and then sell a course. That's so strange.
No, afraid not.
That's definitely not Mark. Well, thank you very much, Mark. It's been a real pleasure. Hopefully we can have you on the show again at some point, but thank you for your time.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.